It started with a text message. 6 words. I'm not coming home tonight. L. I remember staring at the screen for a full minute, wondering if I had misread it. Maybe it was a mistake. Maybe it was meant for someone else. But no, my name was above it. The message was deliberate. Punctuated. Cold. She even signed it with the single initial she used when paying bills or leaving grocery notes. L. Like that somehow made it cleaner. More administrative. The living room was silent. Too silent. Just the low hum of the fridge and the slow ticking of the clock above the fireplace. Our dog, Duke, lifted his head at my stillness, then laid it back down with a sigh. I sat there, phone in hand, heart thudding like distant thunder in a locked attic. I didn't reply. What could I say? We had been married for 24 years. Raised 2 kids. Buried her father together. Nursed her through surgery. Held hands through miscarriages. And now, she couldn't even call. Just 6 words in a goddamn text. I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I just froze. At first, I convinced myself it was nothing. A friend's house. A wine night gone late. But deep down, something ancient in my gut, the kind of knowing a man can't explain, whispered otherwise. That text wasn't about the night. It was about the shift. The final push off a cliff I didn't know we were standing on. My mind scrambled through memories. Her sudden coldness the past few months, the locked phone, the subtle detachment in her eyes during dinner. The way she started wearing lipstick again. The gym. New perfume. Laughing at messages she wouldn't show me. I ignored it all. Like a fool. I got up slowly, walked to the kitchen, poured myself a glass of bourbon, and stared out the window into the blackness of our backyard. The house felt different now. Like a stranger was breathing in its walls. And in that moment, I knew. This wasn't a pause. It wasn't space. It was the beginning of an ending. I didn't sleep. I lay in our bed, my bed now, staring at the ceiling, feeling every inch of absence beside me. The sheet was cold where her body used to be. I could still smell her shampoo on the pillow. It clung to the cotton like a ghost, soft, floral, haunting. The night dragged. My mind wandered into places I didn't want it to go. Was she alone? Was she laughing with someone else? Had she planned this for weeks, months? I imagined her in the passenger seat of another man's car, windows down, music playing free. And it made my stomach twist. But worse than that image was her silence. No follow-up. No explanation. No apology. Just nothing. You spend years building something with a person, piece by piece, like a house. Trust, routines, little shared glances, unspoken understandings. Then one day, without a sound, they pick up a match and drop it at the foundation. And they don't even stay to watch it burn. By 4 a.m., I was in the garage pacing. I didn't even put on shoes. Just wandered in there, looking for something to distract myself. Tools. Paint cans. Her old bike still hanging on the wall. I stood there in that cramped, oil-scented quiet, staring at the ordinary things that now felt like props from a lie. I found myself reaching for the wedding album. We kept it in a plastic bin, tucked behind Christmas lights. I opened it like a man digging up his own grave. Page after page of smiles. Friends long gone. Younger versions of us holding hands, eyes bright, believing this was forever. And I wondered, when exactly did she stop believing? There wasn't a single photo that showed the moment it cracked. No frame that captured the second she looked at me and saw less. That's the part that breaks you. Not the betrayal. The quiet fade. By dawn, I was sitting on the back porch, drink in hand, watching the sun climb up behind the trees. The birds sang like nothing had changed. But everything had. And I hadn't even begun to understand how deep the damage went. The next day, I drove. Nowhere in particular. Just drove. The engine was the only sound I could tolerate. No music. No radio. I didn't want someone else's voice pretending to understand pain. I passed familiar places. The grocery store where she once forgot her purse and laughed like a child. The park where we took the kids before they stopped asking to go. Everything looked the same. But nothing was. Around noon, I found myself outside her office building. I didn't plan to go there. I just ended up. My hands tightened on the wheel as I sat across the street, watching people walk in and out. Business suits. Coffee cups. Smiles. Everyone was somewhere to be. Everyone was someone waiting for them. I wasn't even sure what I was looking for. Maybe proof that she wasn't where she said she'd be. Maybe a glimpse of the truth before it could be explained away. But mostly, I think I wanted to see her through someone else's eyes. As a stranger. As someone I didn't already forgive by habit. I didn't see her. After a while, I went home, back to that cold, echoing house, a place that no longer felt mine. The air felt heavier. Every object now carried a double meaning. Her favorite mug? Had she used it that morning before leaving me behind? The scarf on the back of the chair. Had another man helped her take it off? Paranoia is slow, and it's quiet. It doesn't shout. It whispers. By evening, something in me snapped. I opened her dresser drawers. Her closet. Her vanity. Not out of anger, not even curiosity, but necessity. I needed something real. Something that belonged to us, untouched by whatever she was doing now. And that's when I found it. A receipt. Stuffed in a jacket pocket she hadn't worn in weeks. A small Italian restaurant, the one we used to go to on anniversaries. The date was recent. A Tuesday night. She told me she was working late. There were 2 entrees. 1 glass of wine. And suddenly it wasn't about proof anymore. It was about grief. Because I realized in that moment, she was rebuilding something somewhere else, while I was still standing in the ruins. I didn't confront her that night. I wanted to. God, I wanted to. I rehearsed it in my head, the cold delivery, the calm questions, the silence that would follow each answer. But when her car finally pulled into the driveway well past 10, I didn't move. I watched from the upstairs window as she walked toward the house like everything was normal. Bag over her shoulder. Keys in hand. The same woman I'd fallen in love with 25 years ago, now reduced to a stranger wearing her skin. She didn't come upstairs. She went straight to the guest room. And that told me more than any confession could. So I waited. I didn't sleep. I just sat in the dark, one hand on the receipt, the other clenched so tight my knuckles throbbed. There was no outburst. No slamming doors. That's the part people don't tell you about betrayal. It's not dramatic. It's quiet. Like the air right before a house caves in. By morning, something inside me had shifted. The sadness was still there, but it had lost its weight. In its place came something sharper. Focused. Cold. This wasn't going to be a conversation anymore. This was going to be a reckoning. She wanted a life without me? She wanted secrets, distance, a second act built behind my back? Fine. But I wouldn't be the man who waited to be discarded. I started gathering things. Quietly. Methodically. Every shared password changed. Financial accounts secured. Documents copied and filed. I wasn't preparing for a breakup. I was preparing for impact. She wouldn't see it coming, because men like me aren't supposed to do this. We're supposed to beg. Supposed to grovel. Supposed to be mature, and work it out. But she had already decided we were over. She just hadn't told me yet. So I decided, if she was going to burn this house down, I'd be the one holding the last match. The next few days I played my part. I smiled when necessary. Nodded during small talk. Answered her empty questions with practiced patience. She must have thought I was healing. That I'd accepted the cracks and chosen to live around them. She didn't know I'd stopped mourning. I was studying. Watching her. Every lie, every strange pause, every glance at her phone when she thought I wasn't looking, I catalogued them like a man preparing for trial. She still wore her wedding ring, but only in the house. A symbol for me, not for the world. I noticed that too. I didn't lash out. I didn't accuse. That would have given her power. Instead, I became the version of me she thought she wanted, passive, silent, agreeable. I asked how her day was. Listened with fake interest. I learned about her moods again, her tells, her patterns. The way she tucked her hair behind her ear when she was nervous. The way her voice dropped a note when she was lying. There's a strange power in pretending to be blind while your eyes are wide open. And during that time, I built something else, a boundary. I stopped trying to fix what she broke. I stopped replaying our memories like a man flipping through photos of a burned-down house. I started focusing on me. I joined a gym again. Quietly. I dug my old leather notebook out of a drawer and began writing every day. Not about her, about me. About the man I was before I became a placeholder in someone else's fantasy. I reached out to friends I hadn't seen in years. Real friends. Men who didn't ask why, just said, "Come over." And every time she noticed the changes, the absence behind my eyes, she said nothing. Maybe she felt it. Maybe she was too wrapped in her own secret world to care. But I was no longer waiting to be chosen. I was preparing to choose for myself. It happened on a Sunday. Quiet morning, coffee brewing. She came into the kitchen wearing one of my old flannel shirts, the one she used to steal back when we still touched without thinking. For a moment, I almost forgot. Almost. Then I saw the mark on her neck. Faint. Small. But not mine. She didn't notice me noticing. That's the part that stung. The ease of her deception. The casualness of wearing my shirt while carrying the stain of another man's touch. I said nothing. Just sipped my coffee and let her talk about the weather, some neighbor's new car, the sale at the hardware store. Small things. Meaningless things. She didn't see it coming. She thought the storm had passed. She thought I'd made peace with being in the dark. But I was done being polite with my pain. I set my cup down, leaned back, and asked the question with no exit. "Who is he?" Her mouth opened, but no sound came. Just silence. That same damn silence she used to replace the truth. "I don't want a story," I said, voice calm. "I want a name." She looked at me then. Really looked. And for the first time in weeks, I saw something real flicker in her eyes, not guilt, not fear. Shame. "His name is Daniel." There it was. Just a name. But it hit like a truck. Not because I knew him, I didn't. Not because he was special, he wasn't. But because now the betrayal had a shape. A face. A voice. She tried to explain. Said it wasn't serious. Said it just happened. Said she felt lost, and he made her feel alive again. That's what they always say. I listened. Not because I needed her reasons, but because I needed to hear the weakness behind them. I needed to hear her try to dress a wound she'd inflicted like it was a symptom of something I caused. And then she asked the question they always ask, eventually. "Can you forgive me?" I looked her dead in the eyes. "That's not what you're really asking." She blinked. "You're asking if you can stay." And in that moment, she knew the ground beneath her had shifted. The version of me she had betrayed was gone. I was no longer the man who waited at the window. I was the man who decided who crossed the threshold. She didn't cry. I half expected her to collapse into apologies, to plead, to reach for the pieces of a man she thought still belonged to her. But instead, she just stood there, frozen in the middle of our kitchen, wrapped in the soft cotton of my old shirt, and her own self-inflicted consequences. That's the thing about betrayal. It doesn't always end in screaming matches or broken dishes. Sometimes, it ends in two people staring at each other like strangers who used to share a life. I told her to sit. She did. I laid it out plainly. No dramatic speeches. No righteous anger. Just facts. "You checked out months ago," I said. "But instead of ending it like a woman, you stayed. You let me cook for you, sleep beside you, believe in something you'd already buried." She looked down. "You wanted freedom? You have it. But freedom comes with a bill. And I'm done paying for your guilt. She opened her mouth, but I raised a hand. No more explanations. I'm not your priest. I'm not here to absolve you. I'm here to finish this on my terms. I slid the manila envelope across the table, the one I had quietly filled over the past week. Copies of financial records, bank statements, legal documents, my lawyer's card paper clipped to the top. Her hands trembled when she touched it. I'm not punishing you, I said. I'm protecting what's left of my dignity. I'm not interested in fixing something you threw away without blinking. The room was thick with the kind of silence that only comes when something permanent is happening. Do you hate me? She whispered. I shook my head. No. Hating you would mean I still felt something worth fighting for. That's when the tears finally came. Quiet. Humble. Almost afraid. But I didn't move. Didn't reach for her. I had done my weeping already, in private, in pieces, in silence. Now it was her turn to sit with the weight of what she broke. And mine, to walk out of the ashes with my head high. I didn't leave right away. I took my time, not out of hesitation, but intention. I packed slowly. Quietly. Only what was mine. My tools. My books. A few clothes. Framed photos of the kids, but none of us together. I left the wedding album. Let her decide what to do with those ghosts. She didn't try to stop me. She stood at the door, arms crossed over her chest like armor. Her face was swollen from crying, but her eyes were empty, the kind of empty that comes when the echoes finally stop and all you're left with is yourself. I carried one last box to the truck, then turned back for a moment. Not to say goodbye, but to remember. I took in the porch I'd built with my own hands. The window where she used to wave at me on Sunday mornings. The front door she once ran through in the rain, barefoot, laughing like a girl. And I realized something. This was never about Daniel. It wasn't about lust, or some new thrill, or even about me falling short. It was about her. Something hollow inside her that no man could ever fill. Something she tried to silence with secrets, lies, and little moments of borrowed excitement. And I was just collateral in a war she was losing with herself. I got in the truck. The engine hummed to life. I didn't look back. Not because I was done hurting, I wasn't. Not because I had healed, I hadn't. But because for the first time in a long time, the man in the driver's seat knew who he was again. And that was enough. As I turned onto the road, the sun broke through the trees ahead. And for the first time in weeks, I didn't feel lost. I felt free. Drop your thoughts in the comments, I read them all. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share to help this video reach more viewers. See you in the next one.